interview?
Usually a couple of hundred, all the way to like 400, 500, and then more people watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, we are live. Okay,
Cool.
welcome everybody. This is a long-awaited interview and AMA with the one and only Min Kim of Icon Foundation. So we'll be starting shortly. Let's give it a few minutes as people join in. So get ready.
Sure.
We'll be starting shortly.
While you do that, let me retweet.
Yeah. Let me
See if
just double
anybody
check
from
to make
Icon.
sure these. Okay. Yeah, we are live. Okay. So this is going out to YouTube, Twitter, Periscope. Also gets turned into a podcast. Be sure to download the podcast at tokenmetrics.com/podcast. Hey, what's up? E-Dog is first on Twitter. Mazin on Twitter says feels like 2017 all over again.
Yeah.
EXW World, how are you? Luke says, let's go. Uh, what's up, Bashan? Welcome. Vladimir, how are you? How are you? What's up? Yes, interview with Min Kim of Icon. We'll be going through Icon for those who don't know the project, the new updates, the news from the company or the foundation, and any questions you have. So we do have a Mentimeter link available where you can go and submit questions. So just go to menti.com. That's MENTI.com. Use the code 4268737. That's 4268737. I'll post that in the chat as well. So submit any questions you have for Min Kim on Icon or on anything really, right? This is the 100x show. We'll be going through, doing a deep dive on the project on Min Kim and trying to answer as many questions as possible. All right, so with that being said, let us begin. Min, so tell us, who is Min Kim?
Cool. Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Min Kim, and as many of you are aware, I am the founder of the Icon project. We're the largest blockchain and crypto project out of South Korea, and also one of the largest in the world today. Somebody mentioned that it feels like 2017. That's exactly when the Icon Foundation or the Icon project was born. We raised approximately $30 to $45 million to build a interoperable blockchain network that connects the public and private chains. Currently, I sit on the board of the Icon Foundation, where I help oversees a lot of the operational and financial activities. And over the past 3 years, we've completed, I'll say, about 80 to even maybe about 90% of what we originally set out to do. Of course, there's a lot more work after that comes, even after whatever was stated in the white paper. My job is to basically to make sure we complete our work, make sure that Icon network is fully stable, self-sustainable, fully decentralized within the next year or two. And to kind of take a step back, my background, I've been working in finance and technology for about 15 years. I started my career as a technology investment banker out in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, where, it was a great experience to meet some of the young and old C-level executives, where I got the front row seat to experience how some of the best companies, how they were run. I worked on IPOs, private placements, M&As, and then I decided to kind of jump into entrepreneurship, where a lot of these tech companies inspired me to go out there and try something for myself. And I wanted to be on the other side of the table. And somehow my career led me to the blockchain and crypto side of things in 2015. A fintech company I was involved with owned and operated one of the top crypto exchanges in South Korea. And that's when I started to really get into learn about not just Bitcoin, but the technology behind Bitcoin called blockchain, and why it was such a cutting edge technology, what it meant for our society, and got into the philosophy of and the history behind crypto, which was super intriguing. So for many of you out there who are listening to this, I highly encourage you to not only look at the crypto charts and price movements, but really pick up, a couple of books around the history about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, really dig into why this industry is so important for our society. So, long story short, after learning a lot about this technology, I decided to kind of get my hands even dirtier and start the Icon project.
Wow, definitely quite the history. Welcome. So quick question for you. What is the most exciting thing about crypto you've discovered?
So that's a great question. I mean, crypto is just the start, the beginning of what are the possibilities of how the infrastructure of our society can change in the future. We talk about this idea of decentralization, and many things, including money, is more and more as we go into the future, is becoming more decentralized. The financial instruments, the financial products that we are so used to and using through the current financial institution, the banking system, is changing before our eyes with newer DeFi products, taking out the middleman that we are so dependent upon. We were so dependent on banks to hold our money. We're so dependent on our real estate agents to purchase, our homes. We're so dependent on other people, and it's been like that for so long, where we slowly lost control over our own rights, our own properties. And we're now starting to change that, where a lot of that control, our data, is coming back to our own hands. And there's so much that we can do in this field. And over the past 3-4 years, we had the experience of working with some of the largest institutions to think about how we could create a new future for the future generation, and especially for the digital age that we're going into.
All right, awesome. All right, so reminder to everybody, if you have any questions for Min, please go to menti.com. That's MENTI.com. Use the code 4268737. That's 4268737. Keep the questions coming. We'd love to ask him as many questions as possible. All right, so let's do a deep dive into Icon. Where did the idea for Icon come from?
Sure. So the background of the Icon project was actually born out of our enterprise business. So in around 2016, early 2016, we started digging our hands deep into the blockchain technology. We first hired about 5 engineers and research analysts to start looking into this blockchain technology. And back then, we were only into the enterprise blockchain. We started looking into Hyperledger and Ethereum and started learning about smart contracts. And within a few months, we got a lot of calls from our enterprise partners who wanted to learn more about this new technology called blockchain. So we've held seminars, and we were actually charging a lot of money to these banks, these financial institutions, to have some of their managers and their executives come into our office, and we held seminars. I think it was about an 8-week seminar. We invited, for example, I remember SBI Ripple CEO. We flew him over from Japan to hold one of the seminars. So we had some great people come in to teach people about the blockchain technology. And that's how it kind of started. We started as just out of our own curiosity to learn about the blockchain technology. We started sharing our knowledge with our partners, which were primarily financial institutions. And then, some of these financial institutions wanted to work on some use cases. And we built a team with engineers, and we started building some, basic Python-based, technology that we started doing what we call POCs, or proof of concepts, with these institutions. And sooner or later, we decided, hey, let's focus a little bit more. Let's put more energy into building our own enterprise blockchain solution. So we were doing that for about 1 year. And as you can recall, like at the end of 2016, that's when cryptocurrency and the public blockchain projects started taking off. There were ICO movements. There's a lot of exciting things and exciting promises that were coming in around the public blockchain side. And we thought, hey, there are a lot of these public blockchain projects out there, but we've done so much more over the past 1 year, and we could actually take what we built, and we could actually also build a public blockchain project that could actually be, and we think we could do a lot better, and that could actually benefit some of our enterprise partners too, because we also got a lot of inbound requests asking about, companies that wanted to explore public blockchain projects in the future. So we thought, hey, we think this market, public blockchain, is going to be very interesting. We could raise some capital. We want to do an open source project, and let's use our technology that we've been building over the year. So that's how the Icon project kind of came to be. So I think.
Now, quick question there. So apologies to interrupt, because Icon was backed by a publicly traded company in Korea, right?
No, it wasn't a public traded company.
I was a part company.
Of a right. Yeah, so it was also a startup, but one of the larger startups. We raised a lot of capital, over $100 million, to do a fintech startup. We've acquired about 25 companies over about 2-year period in the fintech space, including a cryptocurrency exchange. So you're right, it was a sizable company.
What was the reasoning behind back then doing an ICO if it was already backed by a big company?
So this is a open source project, right? I mean, a public blockchain project is very different from a private company with private investors. Every single IP that we create for a public blockchain project is open source. We want to get it out there for the benefit of the community. So, and then all the institutions or companies or developers that are using the Icon public blockchain, they could use it for free. It's for their own benefit. So it is an open source project, and we wanted to get it out there for the benefit of the community. It should be owned by the community. So, it doesn't make sense for any private entity to monopolize or hold or have a control over a public blockchain project. That's the reason why we made sure that the Icon project had no affiliation or connection with any of the private companies that we had. So Daily Financial Group owned no tokens of Icon. We made sure there's no conflict of interest on that side, and we wanted to make sure that we did it very clean, and we have a fresh new project from the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, so I've shared this story multiple times before. I met you September 2017 in San Francisco. We were there for a crypto conference. We had lunch with you.
Right.
And we're like, oh man, because back then that was when you were kind of getting discovered, right? Because you had been raising for your token sale, and we ended up investing, and everyone knows the rest is history. In December, when you launched, you were one of the most popular projects in December, and obviously one of the best investments that our team made, and lots of other people did, right? So it was Christmas in December 2017. Now, to kind of change topics, so tell us about the launch of the, back then it was called the Interoperability Alliance, and what happened to that? Kind of like a quick update.
Yeah, so the Interoperability Alliance was between us, WenChain, and Aeon. Those were the three projects that were working around interoperability. And, I think a lot of time has passed since then. Icon, we're still very focused on interoperability. Aeon, I believe we're still very close to the team there. Matt spoke, and they have pivoted to another project with a different mission. And I'm not too sure what happened to WenChain, but we know that one of their founders that were very close to have left. So, I think one thing that you have to remember about this industry is like everything is very fast paced. Things could pivot one way or the other. But one thing that is important is that we kept ourselves very relevant in the space. We made sure that we continued innovating. We were going out there and finding some new partners that didn't exist 2-3 years ago. Band Protocol is a great example of one team that we're very close to. We just announced a partnership where we're actually a validator on a Band Protocol, and Band Protocol is a validator on the Icon network. So we're seeing like newer and different and better partnerships. So I think a lot of the partnerships, it doesn't matter if it's on crypto world or the real world. A lot of the partnerships just don't work out. And that doesn't mean that's not a bad thing. You have great intentions from the very beginning to try to get things working. But at the end of the day, we have best interests of our community in mind. And if after a few months or after a year, if the interests don't really align with the original, thought or original goal, then you just have to pivot and you have to, move on from those type of partnerships. So that's exactly what happened with the Interoperability Alliance.
Okay. And then what about upcoming partnerships the foundation is working on? Anything else besides what you just mentioned?
Oh yeah, I mean, we had a lot of great partnerships over the past few months. We partnered with one of the largest, if not the largest mobile payments platform in South Korea, where now any ICX holder in South Korea can use their ICX for payment for merchants to buy in KFCs or Pizza Hut. They could, it's on a mobile payment basis. So it's very easy. You don't need a separate Visa card in order to go through a existing traditional network. Now, if you have ICX, you could go through the Nal's payment system called Paycoin, which is an application that you could download with your mobile phone. You create an account, and then you could automatically deposit your ICX and start using it. And we believe this is the future. It is much more frictionless way of spending your crypto in the real world. Whereas a lot of these other projects or a lot of these other workaround method has been to go through the Visa and MasterCard network. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages of Korea is that Korea has a very sophisticated, very intricate payment network that is far more advanced than I think what people here in the US understand, because everyone just works through Visa and MasterCard these days, right? Like there's no other way that you do payments. Of course there are other ways, but the primary way is to use your credit cards when you want to spend something in the digital world. In Korea, you have so many other options outside of Visa and MasterCard. And these are direct payments through banks. There are other service providers. And crypto fits right in, where through mobile payments, you don't need a credit card, you can do payments right away. So, I can't really explain the entire ecosystem of payment space with you today, because that would take a long time. But I'll just let you know that we've partnered with the largest mobile payment platform in Korea called the Now FinTech. they hold about 50% market share of South Korea. And pretty much you could spend your ICX for any merchant in South Korea today, or not today, but in the next couple of months.
That's great, because I recall when I went to Korea, this was January 2018 for the ICON conference. I was just blown away by how many people were using crypto. The crypto was almost mainstream in Korea, and I think it's one of the most advanced countries when it comes to crypto.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the reason why I'm doing this interview and live AMA with you today, is because we go way back, right? I remember you coming out to Korea with your team to the ICON events, to the ICON summit. We had a great time talking, and when our PR company that we're working with, I've been very busy very recently because I'm working on a couple of projects that you'll hear about. Actually, we're launching one next week, which I can't talk about yet, but I'll let you know. So I've been very busy over the past few months. I've been rejecting a lot of the interviews, but when I heard your name, I decided, hey, let's catch up, and I thought it would be fun just to talk today.
Yeah, when's the next conference?
Good question. So we're looking into doing a ICON developer conference next year. Once ICON 2.0, which is on the technology side, the single largest update that we're doing for the ICON network. Just like ETH 2.0, we have ICON 2.0. It's built from scratch. It's already built. We use it completely different language. It's built on Go. It's going to be much more scalable, much faster, and much more flexible for us to do things, create much more complex system around blockchain. So once this goes live, right now it's on testnet. We started migrating a lot of the activities on, of the ICON network. So once everything gets migrated, which will be next year, we want to have a dev conference and invite more developers to start building on the ICON network.
Yeah, I think that would be great, because last year I went to Ethereum DevCon in Osaka, Japan, and it's always a blast. This was pretty much at the bottom of the bear market, but there are so many developers there who flew from around the world, and just the sentiment there was just so positive that I said, you know what, crypto is not going anywhere. It just made me even more bullish on crypto, and I feel like having those real life events is always awesome. Okay, all right. So let's now go to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, I guess, tough part about the coronavirus or COVID era is, a lot of these conferences have moved online, and there's no physical conferences there. And I think we all miss meeting people face to face and have those kind of face to face connection. So hopefully we'll be able to continue like real conferences like DevCon, and we'll have real, like people fly in from around the world to the ICON conference next year. So we'll see how that goes.
Now, can you quickly run through all the new additions coming to ICON 2.0? You mentioned you're changing from Python to Golang. Any other updates in terms of the tech?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I should have given a bit more background, but the biggest difference between ICON 1 and ICON 2 is the new language. Like I mentioned, it's built on Go. It's much more faster, much more stable than Python. Python was a great, simple and basic programming to get a project going. But using it gets very complicated. And if you have to build a more complex system and custom modules, it gets very challenging. So over the years, ICON has become a extremely complex piece of software, and ICON 2.0 brings like much more flexibility to what we want to do for the future. So when you talk about advantages, I would say there are three key advantages. The first is the scalability. And we could break this into a couple of parts. The first part, development is much faster due to the simplicity of Go. So while you're using Python, yes, Python was a great way to get the project up and running. But as things get more complicated, maintaining and scaling a Python-based system has been quite challenging internally. So we saw this. It's not that we went against, we faced a brick wall and we decided, hey, let's build Go now. We've been preparing for this over the past year or so. So we saw this coming, which is the reason why we've been building it. And we've completed the Go-based Icon 2.0 system early this year, or a couple of months ago. So this means that we can cut the future development time. So it'll be much faster for us to develop, going forward. Secondly, we will see a huge improvement with the performance due to the higher code efficiency. So Go is very popular for something like blockchain because it is very, it is a much a better language for us to work with. Stability has been another key issue, and Go is supposed to do exactly what you code. There's no surprises while you programming with Go. It's more manageable at scale when architecture becomes more complicated. So, which is where we are, frankly, with Icon. Icon has been in development for years, and we've integrated a lot of governance features, token and economic features, and we're continually adding new features into Icon. So, as you add more features, Python-based has been, more or less getting more and more unstable. Whereas Go, it gives us that kind of flexibility to add in a lot of these features while keeping the entire system extremely stable. And lastly, which kind of goes related to both scalability and stability, is that Go has a top-notch debugging tools. So it's much easier for us to audit the codes that we built, the features that we build. And this also adds for faster development and more stable code.
Now, what's the timeline for 2.0? My understanding is it's being launched in phases and comes out next year.
Yeah, so the testnet is already, so the code is already built, it's live on GitHub. The testnet is live. We have developers that are already on there and, on the test, going in and playing with the testnet mode. But you gotta, but there's a lot of data that needs to be migrated, a lot of the features that needs to be migrated to this new blockchain engine. So we're taking that very slowly and cautiously. And the first phase we want to do beginning of next year, and the second phase we're going to do in the middle of next year. So we're hoping by mid to 2021, the entire engine will be switched to Icon 2.0.
All right, that's great news. That's great news. Looking forward to it. Okay, so let's now go to questions from the audience. So the first question, here, let me just pull up my screen. Okay, so how do you see Icon evolving over the next 2 years? Do you reckon you'll be pushing up marketing as more products roll out and as we get close to the upcoming bull market peak in 2 years' time?
So, I think there's been a lot of discussions around marketing, but, honestly, we're always on the stance that, we let our product and our development, let our community speak for itself. So our position has always been, word of mouth marketing, if you want to call it that. And also, I think we've been doing a very good job with communications and telling our story, our vision to the community. And we've been working with a PR firm on and off basis for the past, several years. We also been working with different partners that we have to on that front. But, more importantly, what I see in the next 2 years is by the end of 2021, so by the end of next year, we want the ICON blockchain or the ICON network to be fully sustainable. This means that ICON 2.0 migration has to be completed, which we're very much focused on, and we're on target at the moment. And we need to be able to invite non-core members working on the, to work on the core blockchain, meaning the mainnet, the ICON's core blockchain, and other important pieces and features of the network. So we started doing this. We invited one of the outside developers, a team that we don't really consider as a core ICON developer, but we invited a team, Ibris, to build a contribution proposal system, which is a critical piece of the ICON governance and ICON blockchain. And once we do this, once we have more of these outside developers start contributing to the core blockchain piece, that means the core team will now have more time to focus on building applications and businesses on top of the ICON network. And we've already started doing this, but not at the capacity that we want to build at or be at. So, I think that's going to be very important. A lot of people are talking about, what is ICON going to be? Where are the transactions going to come from? We need to take care of the first side of the business, which is we got to make sure that the ICON public network gets migrated to 2.0. It's very sustainable, it's very stable, so that we could start focusing on building businesses and applications that utilize the ICON technology, so that we could create more transactions and we could actually contribute in other ways. And for the first time, I am personally taking a couple of new projects, and one will be launched next month. It will be announced next week, as I just mentioned, but it will be launched next month. And the other project will be launched sometime next year around security tokens.
Okay, now, okay, interesting. So why security tokens, and is ICON doing anything with DeFi?
Yes, we have a couple projects that is a collaboration. So it's not a project that I run myself, but we have a member of the ICON team plus some other developers from the ICON community working in collaboration to build a couple of DeFi projects. And one is called Open Money Markets, OMM, and the other one is called Balance Network. And these are going to launch hopefully early next year. I believe a testnet for some of these will be launching end of this year. But I don't follow these projects religiously. I get updates just like you. But we do have a couple of projects that are coming on the DeFi space.
Yeah, because I think that would definitely, that's one of the hottest spaces right now in all of crypto.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So going on to the next question. So this one is a question I think all of us have been having for a while. What are the major advantages of using ICON versus Polkadot or Cosmos?
So very good question. I think we're 3 interoperable projects, and we are currently working on a BTP token economics separately that actually had an advantage to run a relayer on the ICON network. So I wouldn't really say one technology is an advantage or a disadvantage over another one. These are designed differently. So it's the same question as you would say, hey, is Ethereum technology any better or worse than the Icon technology. And people might have different opinions, but what I believe is that, I mean, these are built on different languages, have different architecture, has different fundamental features. And that's what makes each of these projects, layer 1 projects, unique and different from to each other, which gives more choices for developers to work on. So, you know, Polkadot, and honestly, to tell you the truth, like me, you know, I'm not a tech guy. I look into, you know, what we do, and we want to do what fits our community and what we do better. And what we do well is working with our community to build a system that works for our community. So, you know, we'll have a very unique incentive mechanism. We'll have unique token economics that's related to, you know, that where the Icon team will have that is different. And I think it will be beneficial for the teams and, you know, applications and our partners that we work with and we're connected to. Sorry, I'm trying to find I don't know what happened to, you shared a screen with me with all these questions, and
I'm trying to find the question. Okay, yeah, here, let me bring it back up. So,
all right. There you go.
Actually, but the other question I'd closed. But so for now, though, this leads me to 2 other questions here. Let me take the screen off for now. So what blockchains are currently interoperable with Icon?
So right now, we don't have any. We're still working on the BTP technology, which will have a first version out when the Icon 2.0 goes live. So we're almost there. You know, we have a lot of things to do even before we get to interoperability. So still focus on that.
So right now, pretty much the blockchain is just for payments, transactions?
No, it's a smart contract, you know, general purpose smart contract platform where you could build, you know, many applications as you want, depending on what you want to build.
Okay, and now kind of going back to Polkadot and Cosmos, because that's a question lots of people have, because those 2 projects came after Icon, but they've gained so much market share. So why do you think that is?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think Icon can kind of recapture that market share it had back in 2017?
So, I mean, that's an interesting way to phrase it. I don't really consider a market share. I mean, they're very well-known projects. Polkadot obviously has, you know, Gavin Woods behind leading the project, which makes it a lot, I guess, very popular amongst the original Ethereum community and also some of the newer blockchain or crypto community. Cosmos has, you know, it did not really come out after Icon. I believe it, you know, Cosmos was actually started around the same time or even earlier than the Icon project. It just, the token got traded at a much later time. So a lot of these projects actually started, you know, pretty much at the same time. With the actual like market share technology, you know, I believe everything is still very early. You know, there's a lot of developers that's building on the other networks. You know, Cosmos, they're fundamentally a very application specific blockchain. So it's not where you see interoperability or interchain happening today. A lot of these, you know, other projects are taking, using the core code or the core blockchain, taking it and using it for building their own blockchain with their own validators. And this is very similar to how maybe, you know, you would say, you know, companies or projects would fork Ethereum. But, you know, the idea is that all those blockchains will connect. You know, Icon, a lot of people don't know, but, you know, we have, you know, kind of the larger companies actually using our technology. We have Korea's largest gold exchange using our technology. We have Line the largest messaging service, one of the largest technology companies in Asia, using our technology to build their own blockchain. So they're doing exactly the same thing as what Cosmos is doing. It's just maybe less known, but Cosmos may have a lot more smaller or newer startups using their chain. We have a lot more enterprises actually using our chain. So if I'm not really sure how you would compare that as a market share, but honestly,
now the natural question
really
that comes, so the natural question that comes from that is, you're doing amazing in Korea. How do you expand outside of Korea to other regions and kind of have those same level of, whether you call them clients or customers or partners?
Yeah, so when it comes to the Icon ecosystem, we're very global. We have 135 plus validators from all around the world. When you look at the dApp development that's been happening on Icon, it's from all around the world. But when you look at specifically just the enterprise side, and when you look at like I mentioned earlier, Icon was born out of our initiative in the enterprise space in Korea, which naturally we are very focused and still to this day very focused in trying to bring mass adoption to a particular region that we're taking things like very differently than a lot of the other blockchain projects. So what I mean by that is that I would say our strategy has always been, hey, we create a open source software that everyone can use around the world. But when it comes to actually building use cases and building application within our control, within the Icon's core team's control, which we could, work with, do partnerships and try to do use cases, that's going to be specifically focused in South Korea. But, if you look more broadly, and we've had a lot of great organic growth outside of Korea. And I think these pieces, just because of the fact that there's so much happening in the crypto space, and I'm sure you cover so many other blockchain ecosystems, not just Icon, but you look at Polkadot and a lot of these, Ethereum ecosystem and all of that, I'm sure it gets hidden with all the background noise. But if you come into our community, there's actually interesting initiatives that's happening like all around the world, and we have a lot of developers contacting us and telling us, hey, we really love what we did with the Icon Icon chain. We love developing on Icon. It makes it so easy. The language, smart contract language where they could use Python has been very good for them. It's easy for them as opposed to using Solidity for Ethereum. So, and then some of the tools that we provide that's different from Ethereum, we don't have as a robust portfolio, but we do things a little bit differently that's more catered towards some of the developers out there, and they enjoy using and building on top of Icon. So, long story short, I think that's one of the biggest misconception is that, hey, you have all these great, exciting enterprise initiatives happening in Korea. So are you just a Korea chain? Yes, we are. We're very focused on Korea, but we're, that's just a starting point. We're much bigger, much more than just Korea.
All right, that's great to know. Okay, all right, let's get back to the AMA. Okay, so what are the current roadblocks you see stopping Icon from gaining mass adoption, and how do you plan to take them on?
So I'll say the biggest roadblock is time. It takes time for a lot of this enterprise initiatives to materialize, and that's the fact. It's not just blockchain technology. That's just how enterprises work. No enterprises want to jeopardize their existing customer base. No enterprises will jeopardize their legacy business for a new technology, immediately. That's like saying, maybe Square, they started going into Bitcoin and crypto. That's like saying, why don't you shut off your, your bank payment system, your current business, and why don't you go fully on the icon or using Bitcoin or other payment crypto payment system? Nobody's going to do that, right? Square's not going to do that. PayPal's not going to do that. No enterprises in Korea, no matter how much enterprises are bullish on the future of crypto, is going to shut off their business and go fully on crypto. It's going to take a little bit of time, where a lot of people, a lot of enterprises are still not 100% sold that on the scalability and the security of the blockchain. So they're going to cut out a little piece of their current business and put it on the blockchain, see how it works. And once they get more comfortable, they could put on another piece of their business on the blockchain. They might take a few things and put it on smart contract to make it more peer-to-peer. But these kind of steps take a long time. So I think a lot of people, not just the Icon community, but just in the entire crypto community, is very short-term minded. They want the results within a year or less than a year. It takes a long time for a lot of these good initiatives to materialize. So I think a good example is even Bitcoin. I think we talked about institutions getting into Bitcoin for a very long time. Bitcoin has existed more than 10 years. We've been talking about, institutions are coming into crypto. We've been talking about that for the past 3-4 years. And now we're starting to see kind of the larger banks and hedge funds and more well-known traditional funds are starting to hold Bitcoin in their portfolio. And you're just starting to see that. PayPal just got into crypto. It took them a long time. And, that's just kind of Bitcoin as a major cryptocurrency. But just overall, I think, once you want to get into more sophisticated use of the blockchain or public blockchain, such as smart contracts, it's going to take even longer. I think we are still years away for a lot of these great initiatives to materialize and be fully on the public blockchain side.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, going on to the next question. Hi, Min. We love Icon. Are there any new blockchain projects that you really like coming out of Asia?
So, honestly, I don't look too much outside of the Icon projects, although our team keeps a tab on the trends and what's happening around the world. There's just a lot of things happening at the moment. We recently did a partnership with Confluix, which is a Chinese enterprise blockchain that's very similar to Icon. They're doing a lot of cool things with enterprise space in China. So we felt that project was very exciting. In Korea, there's been newer, I guess, crypto projects, and Aussies is another one that we've partnered with very recently. I wouldn't say partnership, but we're working with very recently. Aussies is spelled OZYS. They joined our network as a validator just a few days ago. They're part of the Dunamu or Upbit family. So they're very well, I guess, funded, and they know crypto very well. They work with some of the other Korean crypto projects as well, but they're in the DeFi space. They're working on interoperability in a different way than Icon, and we think that project or that team, what they've been doing has been quite exciting.
All right, that's great to know. Okay, going on to the next question. what is the percentage level of decentralization of the Icon platform?
That's a great question, because decentralization is could be looked at in a very different way. If you look at the pure just delegation at this point, you know, a lot of the delegation is, you know, a lot of the votes are at the top, meaning the top, I think, 22 or top 15 validators have majority of the Icon delegation at the moment, which is not very decentralized. There's been a problem with vote stagnancy. And again, this is not just a Icon blockchain problem. This is a industry-wide problem for a lot of the proof of stake networks, like even Tezos, you know, Cosmos. You know, a lot of the delegation seems to be cluttered to some the top validators. You know, we need to somehow move a lot of those delegations to the other, so that it's more evenly distributed to all the other validators. So we call this vote stagnancy, where a lot of the early voters or stakers sort of stake their tokens and they forget about it. They only collect rewards. They don't really participate in the governance of the network. So, you know, we acknowledge that this is a problem. Is it a problem enough for us to, you know, prioritize this? I mean, it is one of our top priorities, but, you know, it doesn't really, I guess, you know, it's not something that is, I guess, deadly to the network right now. That is, you know, but it's something, it's a problem that we've been working on, and we are going to try to solve it through different methods, you know, in the next few months. So that's one thing about decentralization. If you ask me, are we, you know, how satisfied are we with the decentralization? I believe that we could do a lot more to make it more decentralized. So that's one. Icon is a DPoS system. So we started out with 22 main validators, meaning 22 top validators are able to make a lot of the decisions for the rest of the network. And, you know, EOS is 21. There's, like, I think Tron is another DPoS that they have their own numbers, right? So at each of these DPoS network, we have our own system, and Icon is 22. We want to be able to expand this main PREP base. So right now we have 22. We're going to expand it to 25 very soon. And then in the next year, we're going to get it up to 28, 32, and it's going to keep expanding so that the entire decision-making process is more sticky. And once we make a change of the network, it is harder to change. So at that point, I think the entire system will get more decentralized. So long story short, Icon has been, you know, I think on a daily basis, we have been getting more and more decentralized. And as we move into the future, we will continue to get more and more decentralized.
Okay, now going back to Icon being a delegated proof of stake. So what's the reasoning behind that? Because lots of projects that have that kind of, I would say, governance structure, all right, whether EOS or some other projects, people don't really think it's like true decentralization. Basically, it's kind of like governance by a few. Now, how would you respond to that? For example, like Ethereum has more than 7,000 nodes, right? And that's like, people view that as being truly decentralized. But if a project is being governed by 20 people, 30 people, do you think that makes it more centralized?
So it depends. You know, Ethereum, when it comes to block validation, you know, you have all these, you know, tens of thousands of nodes that are running, and you call it POS. But when it comes to actually making decisions for the core blockchain, you know, it's pretty much only the core developers that make a lot of the decisions for the Ethereum blockchain. So, you know, the question is like, is it decentralized enough? I mean, some people say yes, some people say it's not. It's just, I think at that point it's debatable and it comes down to your opinion. I think DPoS, structurally, it doesn't matter if it's DPoS or not. DPoS is just systematically different from POS, where you're keeping a lot of the validation within the top 22. So the transaction speeds and it's more scalable in that. And that's our kind of solution to a blockchain being more scalable, right? You have the main validators that are 22, and you're asking if that's decentralized enough. I think that's more debatable. Of course, it's not as decentralized as Ethereum that has a POS network, but it works for scalability to run dApps. I think it fits today's environment of what we want to try to do. But I think in the future it will continue to, like I mentioned, we start off with 22, we're gonna get to 25, we're gonna get off, increase the number of these main PREPs, main validators. So it will continue to get more decentralized that way on the validation side. On the governance side, I think that's more fascinating. I think there's been a lot of interesting experiments. We're doing a lot of experiments ourselves. There are other projects like Decred, they're doing experiments on their governance structure as well. On the governance side, I think it's, right now, just what kind of governance design that you are comfortable with. It is all, again, debatable on, okay, with some of the things or for some of the decision making, would it be better to have, to make faster decisions versus slower decisions? And with, with 22 decision makers of the ICON network, there's a lot of good debates. When you move it to like 30 validators, PREPs, or we call it public representatives, it's going to get even more difficult to make decisions, right? So I think it's about finding the right balance of, what's the right amount of time to make change in the network versus not. So I think it's a big question mark, and it's something that we've been experimenting with, honestly.
Okay. All right, so it's time to now put you in the hot seat. So every guest that comes on the show, we'd like to ask him a handful of questions. So the first question is, what are 3 books you've read that have changed your life?
3 books I've read. I'm going to skip that question. I can't remember a single book I've read other than a couple of blockchain books. The Age of Cryptocurrencies. It's a great book. You should read it. I'll say.
Good book, by the way. I have read it. I read that back in 2017 when I got into crypto. I read that and Digital Gold.
Right. So it's a great book. I forget the man, it's leaving my head right now, but the Toy Story book with Ed Catmull. That was a great book. Story about Pixar, how it got started. It has Steve Jobs. And talks to you or teaches you a lot about teamwork, how to build a company culture, work culture. I think that was a great book. And third, I think everyone in Silicon Valley has read this. Sapiens is one of the best books out there. It makes you think about society. The rules that we create, are all, debatable, I'll say. Everything that we've created is due to our, imagination. So, rules or no rules, these are all man-created, right? Laws are all man-created. So, yeah, I think Sapiens.
Okay, very interesting. So I've been hearing a lot about that book, but I haven't gotten around to reading it. But okay, so it's basically saying that rules are, or basically subjective in a way, or man-made.
Yes, because we're like humans, we're a byproduct of the environment that we live in, and how we think, how we what we think is right versus wrong is influenced by our society. So we built a system of society. We built a rule, but we built, that is just a social contract between people, but there are more hard rules between, that kind of goes into effect in the courts. And we created, regulations and all of those rules that affect us on a day-to-day basis. But those are still man-made rules.
Right.
Why do we need to eat? Why do we need to eat 3 times a day? Those are just all rules that we've created. So, but I think this, the more important part about the book is just, it goes through the history of humans, why we just, how we evolved throughout the time, why we became who we are and started to think this way. I think that's more fascinating. I think that's the part where a lot of this, and it kind of relates to crypto as well, where money is a idea. Money is not something that's real. It's a transfer, it's a medium of exchange. But we believe money has value because we think it has value. We've been saying it has value. Gold has value because throughout the ages, we've been telling our kids, we've been learning that it has value, but does it really have value? So, it goes through a lot of those aspects of where we put value into different things as well.
Sounds like a great book. I have to check it out because in a way it's similar to my favorite philosopher of all time. For those who follow my channel, know this, Friedrich Nietzsche. So he also has kind of like he's known for basically stating that valuations or moral valuations are subjective. So basically meaning that there is no right way to do anything in the world because everything is basically people interpreting something based on their own culture, beliefs, upbringing, and everything, right? So it kind of goes into that. I'll definitely have to check that book out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then now I'm starting to remember a lot of the Malcolm Gladwell books have been fascinating, have been changing the way I think. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of books out there.
Okay, all right. Next question in the hot seat. Who are 3 people besides family and friends, living or dead, who have inspired you?
So good question. 3 people? Wow, I have a hard time even thinking one.
Like any heroes, childhood heroes you looked up to as a kid or even now?
I mean,
whether in the business world or sports or
yeah,
anywhere?
Of course. So definitely, like for me, everyone that I respect are people I personally know. So I know that a lot of people get influenced by people in, maybe a celebrity or, a philosopher or writer. I understand, and I totally understand, those people being a big influence on you. But for me, it has always been the people that I grew up with, that I've known personally, my father or a teacher or my professor in school. So let me just talk about one professor during my college. We had one professor and his class was very different from any other class that I've been in. He did not give out any tests. His main grading was your contribution to the discussions that you have in the classrooms. So we would debate about different, Harvard business case studies about, different perspectives of a business, of a company products, or like some ethical questions that comes out. And he would grade you on your participation in class. And everything was very subjective, depending on how well you've participated or not. But, I think I've learned so much in that classroom by, collaboration, and talking to your class every other classroom is about you sitting in front of a book, you reading chapter by chapter, memorizing, what's in the book. You pretty much go take a test, an exam, and you basically it's a memory test of what you read. Which, if you think about it, is that the real way that you should be learning in today's world? But this class kind of flipped all of that around, and everything was about discussion. It's about challenging how you think. It's about you and me asking questions about crypto, and me explaining to you what I know, you explaining to me what I know, me trying to convince you of the icon is better or icon is not better. I don't know, but it's a much collaborative and much more interactive way to learn. And I thought he was a brilliant professor, and I think he had a very exciting, had a big influence on me on how I like to learn from other people, and how I like to listen to other people as well. Yeah.
That's great. That's fascinating.
Anyway.
Okay, so last question in the hot seat. What are 3 actions you took that changed your life?
3 actions that I took that changed my life. First is definitely when I decided to go into financial investment banking. I think that was a huge decision. I've learned so much, as I explained to you earlier. It was a very eye-opening experience for me, sitting next to very young and also very experienced CEOs in the tech industry in Silicon Valley. It was a lot of hard work. I was there for about 4 years in a bulge bracket bank, doing deals, and I would not change a thing, although I barely slept, barely ate during those years, but it was the most eye-opening experience of my life. What's following that is a decision I made to become an entrepreneur. So, it was a big risk for me to leave a 6-figure job, very safe 6-figure job. I was making 6 figures right out of college. And, I thought I had my entire life figured out. I loved working for Wall Street. I loved working for tech companies. I think I had like very, a good system in place for me to be successful. But, I abandoned all of that. I decided, I was 26, 25 at the time, deciding, hey, I want to try something new. I want to give myself a challenge. So I left to be an entrepreneur, and I've had my ups and downs, but I've learned a lot over the years. And then the third, big decision is, of course, marrying my wife. So that was one of the best decisions of my life, if not the best decision. And have a life companion, somebody that you could trust, is an amazing feeling.
That's great. So how did you meet your wife, if you don't mind me asking?
So my wife and I, we went to college. We were in the same major. But I did not know her too well back then. So we knew each other in classes. I've said hi to her between classes, but we didn't really know each other. We knew each other through friends. But after college, while I was working, because she worked in the Bay Area, I worked in the Bay Area, and because we went to the same school, we were same major, we will run into each other like once or twice a year through, friends' birthday parties or other events. And I would see her from time to time every couple of years. And then finally, after 10 years or so, I decided, hey, like I should, you know, ask her out on a date. And then from then on, it was just history.
Nice, nice. Congrats. Okay, all right. Well, is there anything else we haven't covered that you would like to share with our community?
I think, there's obviously a lot of things about Icon, maybe a little bit too much just to cover it within, 30 minutes or an hour. But, I think there's always been a lot of talk, but one thing I want to make it very clear through this interview is that the Icon ecosystem is healthier than ever. We have some great, very solid organic growth. We're one of the very, very few projects out there that has a real grassroots community. And I cannot emphasize this enough. There's a lot of blockchain projects out there that is very centralized. It's all dependent on the core team working. Blockchain is about collaboration. It's about community. It's about contribution from the members of the community. And we're at that stage. Icon is at a stage where a lot of these other blockchain projects are dreaming about. And, I think we're in like very, very strong position at the moment. Like we have some of the, we have over, like I mentioned, 135 validators in the network are less. And the quality of these, validators have been improving. The last 4 being like Band Protocol, Danal, like I mentioned, the largest mobile payment platform in Korea, Post-Tech University, one of the top tech universities in Korea, and Aussies, which is I also mentioned them, one of the up and coming crypto blockchain projects in Korea. So we have some great partners that's recently joined the Icon network, and I think there will be a lot of positive momentum going in. We have the contribution proposal system launching soon. Contribution proposal system is basically a decentralized investment fund that is managed by the Icon validators or reps. So these P-reps will be able to collectively invest into new projects that benefit the Icon ecosystem. So a lot of, we expect a lot of great projects that come out of there, which actually will help Icon value for the long term. And we have not only like DeFi project, we have NFT project, we have, like I mentioned, I'm personally working on a security token project. So I think we have a lot of time from here and onward where we're going to be focusing on the business side of things, where we will be focusing on building applications that actually bring value to the network. So I think that is the next stage of the Icon, which we will get to in the near future. So I just wanted to end with that we're in a great position and we have some very exciting things happening. The Icon network is maturing, and it's very different, frankly, from when you first invested in Icon through the ICO. I mean, back then it was just a white paper. And if you actually look at the white paper and seeing, everything from then to what we've built today, I think we've done a great job of what we set out to do within a very short time frame. A lot of people think 3 years is a long time. It's a very short time. So, a long time, but I think it's a very short time of what we kind of set out to do. So yeah, we have a lot of good things ahead of us, and it'll be fun. This is going to be a great journey for the Icon community.
All right, well, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Min, and to our community. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. With that being said, as we like to say, the moon is not the limit to the moon and beyond. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Min Kim. It was a pleasure.